And let me start sharing my screen. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So this is the final version where you can see a list of movies. You can't do nothing unless you're logged in. If you try to see a movie details, you can't tell you that you need to log in. To log in or register, you have a page that you can use authentication functionality with Firebase. We built most of this functionality yesterday, except the forget password, and I find where is my mistake, and we're going to be fixed it today. But the whole idea that you can actually log in with Google. So you will find there is a pop-up, and you select your email. It will get your credential, your username, and now you can see the movie ratings. Not only that, you can search movies. Now you take a look that the search now is open for you since you logged in, and you can't.
User experience is not good for the another pop-up window, isn't?
For the Google authentication?
Yeah, because on the Clarusway, like LMS, it's really easy. You just you don't have another window popping up. It's just the same page.
Yeah, but keep in mind that you're authenticating with Google, so that's a wild known technique. Even if you go to any web page, tell you want to authenticate with Facebook, you want to authenticate with a third-party provider. In that case,
can we do that authentication to be on our page?
In your page, yes, you can redirect that, of course. You can check the Firebase documentation. The one we picked is with a pop-up screen. I believe they should have another function without the pop-up screen as well. But again, once you log in, either with Google or your account, doesn't matter which one, you have the search functionality. I can search for any movie, like I want to search for The Matrix. Oh, I didn't click search, that's why. Press enter. Here, you get all the Matrix movies. You can view any details of any movie, and you will have the preview of the movie, and you can read the overview, the ratings, and you can go back. And definitely you can log out. Once you log out, you're going to be redirected to the login screen. You can sign up, and you can log in with an email and password as well. So I already registered with this email. Oh, I already changed the password yesterday, but it's not going to work. So if I try to enter something wrong, you see that I get this. We did like a small validation. But we're going to continue. As I said, yesterday we worked on the authentication functionality. But today we're going to focus more on building these cards, fetching the data, the movies from the API, getting the overview, the videos, and all of that from the API. Okay, that's been said. As I said, yesterday, I had a bug or an issue, and it was late in the night, but I found it real quickly. And it's right here. It's components. It was in the login page, because now my issue, if I go to the login, and I click forget password, I should put my email address to, if you want to forget your password, and you click forget password. Now it's working. Probably I was playing with this version. But the mistake that I had yesterday, that this function that I created that will handle the forget password, it required an email. And I didn't send that email, and that's why I get the error, keep getting error from the Firebase. When I executed this function, I never execute the function with the email. And that's why it tells me the network down. And right here, you actually need to send the email. Forget password, this function take an email. So that was the mistake that I did yesterday. And we're fixing it in this version of code. And now let me run it. Oh, because I'm running the one online. That's why it sent it to my email. Let's close that. Let's get back to our development. Now it should work fine since I'm calling the function with the email. So that's what we built so far yesterday. You'll have the navigation, you have the login page. Take a little bit of time. Okay, this is the home page, as you can tell from the URL. If you go to the login page, now if I click forget password, it tell you, hey, you're missing the email. There's an authentication, so you put the email here. And click forget password, and it tell you, please check your mailbox. And I'm gonna go check my mailbox. And as I said, it usually go to the spam. So let's check the spam. More. So I get here the reset password, and I can go to the link here to the most recent one. And I can put a new password, save. And now this password is saved in the Firebase database. So I can use the new password. And now I logged in successfully. Okay. So that's just to let you know what is the mistake that I did yesterday. It was I was calling the function without passing the email to the function, and that email, we're going to use it with the forget password function. Any question? Anybody work in the project yesterday or today and find something that that don't make sense to you and you want to ask a question before we start?
I have a question about the recipe app. I'm still working on it, but I'll ask it at the end, okay?
Sure, no problem. I'll be more than happy to help you with that. Even you can share your screen and we can take a look. Okay, now I have one problem with this project that I don't like it. One, that we exposing our API keys, and that's not professional. Imagine that you put this project in the GitHub. Now anybody else can clone it with your API key and misuse the app, and probably they're gonna reach the limit, and now Firebase is not gonna work. So your API, it should be personal for you. You don't share it with anybody, okay? So you can't share it in your GitHub codes. You can't share any API keys. That there should be secret. Only you know the API keys. It's your account, after all. So as a solution, as a professional solution, and it's very nice to know something called environment variables. And it's not only related to React, it's related to Node.js in general, where our development server running in Node.js. So how we can use this environment variables with React? It's very simple. Environment variable, you have to create outside here, right next to the package.json, a file that's called .env. That's where you're going to put all your hidden variables in this file that you don't want to share it with other people. And if you take a look at the getignore itself, you will notice that the getignore should have some environment variable. It will ignore any .env files. And as a matter of fact, I want to do .env as well. My environment variable, I don't want to push it to GitHub. It's just locally for me, for my development. All right, so I created .env. What's next? You can put all your variables, like for example, the API key here, hide them. This is our API key. I'm going to take it a copy. For React environment variable, they should start with React underscore app, then underscore the variable name, which I want to call it API key, and then paste my API key. You don't add the quotation in the end file. You just add it like this. Okay, so key value, key equal a value, and now when I want to use my API key, I don't put it as a plain text here. I will reference it using something called process. Process is something in Node.js that have access to your terminal. Okay. .env, short for environment. So I want to access the environment of the running time terminal. And then the variable name, which is variable name is React app API key. And now when I share this code, any developer will take a look here. He know that you're already hiding your API key, and he should replace his API key with whatever he see here in his own .env file. Okay. In order for an environment variable to take an effect, you have to close the server and run it again. It's not going to work if you just save it like this and you still have the server running. You have to turn off the server, because technically what is going to happen is when you type in npm and start, you're going to start the command to start your app. During that time, all the environment variables that you store here will be injected on this terminal on the runtime, during the runtime. Okay, it will be injected to your runtime, and it will be accessible to your application through process.env. And for just React, all the React variables should start with React underscore app underscore then the variable name. Let's see if that's going to work or not. Now, I just want to show you in the app here that I can access this environment variable from anywhere. I can just simply console log process.env .react underscore app, and this was called API key. Okay, and now once every time you make a change to that file, you have to restart your server, shut down the development server, and start it again. So I'm going to do npm start, because during this command, when it's running, that's where all the environment variables will be injected to your code. It's right here at this point of time. And let me close this, close this, close this. It should open a new page for me. And you should notice that everything should be the same, nothing changed. But now you're hiding your API key inside this .env file that you're not going to share with anybody, and you're not going to share it in the GitHub. And definitely that will, if you're building your portfolio with GitHub, that will show that you understand what is environment variable, and it show that you fully understand of this concept. Because as I said, it's not only React concept, it's used with Node.js. As you can see, everything is working. If you inspect, and you'll go to console, you'll see I have some problems with the class and autocomplete, but I'm going to fix that. As you can see here, our variable value is printed out. Nice. So I can access my hidden variable inside this file. And now I'm not going to be exposing my API keys like this. Okay. Any questions about API keys? Or, I mean, about environment variable.
Is this the only one syntax that pretty much all the information that we need to hide, we can use this one?
Yes, you have to use process.env and you put it inside the environment variable, and then you can rename it anything you want here, as long as the name start prefix with React underscore API, then underscore any variable name that you want. Like, for example, I'm going to put all this data, because it's confidential data here as well, as variables. So I can paste them here, prefix them with React app underscore, put an equal sign. It's a key value. You remove the quotation. React app project ID equal. And finally, React app storage bucket equal. Finally, React app, and remove this and the equal sign. Okay, now these are the variables. I'm not going to put my data as a plain text here. I will reference them, process dot env, and process.env is an object, and it have this node environment either development, testing, or production, and you can change it. Currently we're in the development, so the node environment will have development. React. So I'll take this, copy it, paste it here. Project ID is this variable, which has process.env dot process dot env dot
You have a typo.
It's fine. I'll fix everything here. Yeah, I see it. Thank you. And here, and of course, I'm going to select React app here, do D, and type in front of them process dot environment dot React. As you can see now, no information. So if I share this code with you guys on the GitHub, you're not going to have access to my variables. You only see this. And once you see process.environment as a developer, you know that you have to provide your own values, your own API key, and so on. Okay. But it's not going to work like this because I have the server running. As I said, once you update the env file, and here, if you save, it's going to rerun, you have to stop completely, terminate, and then you have to start it all over again so the environment variable take an effect.
Sir, you have a typo on .env.
Which typo?
On .env file, you have a typo on storage bucket.
Storage bucket. Yeah.
Not on this file, on the file you just closed.
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much. I see it. So now let's start it and see if it's going to work or not. Save this. And let's refer. It should open a new page for us. We don't have to worry. We can actually close this. It's just going to open a new page. And now during this development, it take all your variables values and inject them in the application, and you can access them and everything should work fine. Okay. Register. Everything should be working fine. Another thing I have that I noticed, they have some class because we copied a little bit of code from the Bootstrap and Bootstrap using class and autocomplete. I have a misspell it. So we can fix that real quickly. That happened in the navigation bar when we copied from the Bootstrap, like here. So I can highlight that. Control D, and this is look like the only 3 name. I can search for auto complete. No, it's in the login page. So the class names fixed. I can go to the pages, which is the login. Class name, all class name good. Auto complete. That's only for the email. Fixed. Now I shouldn't see all this errors anymore. Oh, I see still have class. Class. Not on the login page. Let's check the register page. Class names, good. Let's go to the navigation. It should be here. I have, nope. Oh, it's right here. Okay. So now let's go inspect, clear everything, refresh the page, and see what else errors we can receive. Nothing, good. And we have only printing out our environment variables in the app. So I can actually remove that. I'm just showing you that you can actually access it. Okay, any questions before we move in with the homepage? Eugene, is the concept of environment variables clear? Do you still have a question about it?
No, no questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. So now we have to, let's go first to the our API that we're going to use, which is called API.theMovieDP. Now let's take a look at the documentation, okay? This documentation, first, definitely you have to get an API key, which I did, and you just sign up with them. You can access so many stuff here. Movies, if you want to get movies, you can, for a specific movie, you make a GET request /movie, then the movie ID, or you can discover new movies, which we're going to use. We want to discover movie that will get you the latest movies. So discover movies by different type of data, like average rating, number of votes, and so on. So we're going to use that one. this end URL. Okay. And of course, this the end point of this URL, which is the movie dp.org/3. 3 here means the version 3 of the API. And of course, to make any request, you need the API key. So getting started, I'm going to tell you to get an API key. Okay, so this is the first request we're going to make. It's going to make, we're going to make it to the discover endpoint, discover movie. So what I'm going to do in my home page here, or yeah, let's go to the pages homepage here. I'm going to add some constants. So I'm going to create a base URL. The base URL is simply https://API dot the movie dp, short for database, .org/3. So this is going to be the base URL. Then you have to add multiple endpoints like /discover movie. You want to search a movie, but this is always going to be the base URL, and you add more endpoints to it. Okay, so this is the base URL that I'm going to use. If I want to search for a movie URL or the movies URL, so I can do movies URL, it is going to be simply the base URL variable /discover movies. Discover movie. How I know this endpoint? From here. You make a GET request to this endpoint. And it tells you that you need to provide the only requirement here as a query is the API key. And a query you provided by question mark, then a key and a value. So I have to add then question mark API underscore key, because this is the name that they use here, API underscore key, equal, it's a key value. This is the key name. And then you put your API key here, okay? But of course, my API key will be hidden in my environment variable. So I will do process.env.react.app API or movie API key. Okay, so now I need to add this variable to my env file or my environment file, which is equal. I have my API key here. Actually, forget it. Let's log in. Let's getting started. Count. View profile. Clicking more API. Developers here. This is the docs. API sessions. Oh, this is the fact, sorry. Click here. Okay, status code. This will get you the movies. Okay. Our API, blah, blah, how to apply. I did apply for the API, and I believe they can use, but I don't know how to get it from the dashboard here. Okay, well, let me check where I can get my API, and I'll see how to navigate this. My API key is here. Paste it. I want to know how to get it from their website as well. Okay, so this is my API key here. I store it in this variable. We'll get back to this, because this is the dashboard, or I view my profile, view more. No, it's not showing it in the dashboard. All right, we'll get back to this. So I have the API key here, store it here, save it. And now this is the URL for getting the movies. It's going to be discover movie. Then you provide the API key so the server allow you to make this request. Without the API key, the server will reject your request. And of course, as you know, once you make changes to this environment variable, you have to restart everything. And I can close this page. Let's keep this open. We're going to get back. Oops, I closed the document. Here's the documentation. We're going to need the documentation. Okay, nice. So far we didn't do much. We just added 2 new constants, one for our movie URL. So now I want to make a request to the server. And by this request, I want to get the movies. So let's do it here. Let's create a function in my home page. I'm going to call it fetch movies. Okay. And once I receive these movies, I need to store it somewhere. So I need a state in that case. Okay. So I'm going to create a state to store the movies in. I'm going to call the state movies, set movies. And I need to use state. Okay. So fetch movies here. It's going to be an asynchronous process. Once you submit a request, it's not instantly you will receive the response from the server. So I'm going to use an async. Okay. You can use the fetch API, but I'm going to use Axios. Okay. So to use Axios, you need to import it. We installed it last time. Import Axios from Axios, which is pretty similar to the fetch API. It's a library, third-party library. And to use Axios is very simple. You just type in Axios dot. You will have all these methods attached to Axios. Get, post, create, many functions. In that case, I want to make a GET request. And this GET request, I want it to the movie URL, movies URL. Okay. Or you know what? Actually, I'll make this function more general to be reused. So the function will accept the URL and it will use Axios to make a GET request to that URL. So I'm not going to put a fixed URL here. Once I call the function or invoke the function, I will pass the URL here. And of course, I need to await for that. and I'm going to get some response. And for now, I will console log the response. Who think once I run my application that this function actually going to make the request? What do you think? Come on, guys, you're React developers now.
I don't think it will.
Did I call the function? Did I invoke the function? I just defined the function.
Yeah.
But I never invoke it, right?
Yes.
So how can I invoke the function? Can I do it like this? And pass in my movies URL like this? How about that? What is the problem who's doing that? That's
You need an
bad.
API key?
No, the API key is good.
Oh.
But this is bad. This is really bad if you're gonna do something like this. Or actually, it's not bad right now, but eventually it will. This will work since we're just console logging here. We're not updating any states. If you're updating a state, which eventually we will do, you call the function, update the state, the whole component get re-rendered, and you're gonna get an infinite loop. Keep that in mind. But in our case here, we're not doing that. We're just printing out the response. So if I refresh, I should see the response here as an object. So it is fine for now, since I'm doing console.log. And this is the response that I receive from this server. So this server will give me some configuration, and I'm more interested in the data. The data have some meta information like a page, and I'm more interested in the results array because this is have all the movie, as you can see, total of 20 movies inside the data and the results. So you need to access .data, .results to access this array. So now, after I know what I'm dealing with, after I get this data, I want to set my movies to the response .data .results. And now here's the problem. You can't do it like this because what's going to happen is first the component going to get re-rendered. So the home function get executed. Go over here, execute this function, and this function will update your state. Updating your state means it will going to re-render the home again. And once the home get re-rendered again, the fetch movie get re-rendered again, which can update your state, and you're going to find yourself in a loop. If this function has updating your state, React, if there is a state get updated, it's going to re-render the component over and over again. So what is the solution? Which hook I need to use?
We cannot put outside the function, the state.
You can't put the state outside.
Sorry.
No problem. There is another hook that we learned about that we can use it in this case scenario. How about use effect? Use effect. You can control when that you can do side effects like executing functions, and use effect take a function and dependency. When it's empty dependency, that's mean whatever the code's gonna run in here, only gonna run once when this component rendered, the first time it get rendered. It's not gonna keep rendering over and over. It's not gonna be executed over and over. And that's good case scenario when you use effect. So in that case, I wanna fetch the movies with the movie URL only when the home page get first rendered. And that's here by when I'm using there's zero dependency. You guys remember use effect? Okay. So that's perfect. Now I have all my movies as an array in my movies state, and I can start viewing them. So movies is an object. So let's first see something here. Constant console.log response.data.results to see the array, to see what inside this array. I can go to local 300, inspect. And I have that array, and each movie have a backdrop pass, have title, have release date, and have some properties related to that movie. Okay, I can use the title. I can loop through my movies and see the titles here. So I can do movies.map each movie, and I want to print movie.title. If I save that, I should be able to see all the movie titles that I fetch: Top Gun, Lightyear, Black Phone, Doctor Strange, and so on. All right, so I have access now, all this information fetched from the server. But now I want to view them as cards. So I need to create the component that will be responsible to view each movie as a card. Okay, because now I don't want to be showing each movie in a paragraph. I want to show it in its own component, which is, I'm going to call it a movie card, for example. Okay, any questions about the logic that we started in the home here so far? Anybody confused?
No questions for me.
All right. Do you feel like you're gaining something so far? Yes. Okay. Before we leave this component, let's add some bootstrap classes here. Like I want to display it as flex, justify content center, to center everything. I want to wrap the page, so flex wrap. And remember, we created a class that called page that will push stuff away from the navigation bar. This is a custom class that we created last time. And also I want to give it a style that I want to set the background color to make it like a dark gray. So now you see here, it's wrapping all them flex, but it doesn't matter. This is just text. And we're going to start working on each movie as a card. So I need to create a new component here. I'm going to call it movie card. It's going to have its own styling, so I'm going to put it as a folder. Movie card. And inside my movie card, I'm going to have a movie card.js, where I can create a component really quick. Save that. And now also I'm going to use movie card.module.css. And of course, I need to import that classes, because now I'm going to import the CSS as classes from movie card model.css.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please repeat again about the loop? Because I'm looking now at my recipe app, and I didn't use effect to fetch the. So this, I didn't use this logic, and it doesn't go to the loop again.
Which logic did you use? So so let me show you this. So if I try to fetch the movies URL like this, that will cause a loop. And you can see that here, my code is broke. And if you go here and inspect, it will tell you, and this is very common thing. Forget about the map. This is coming from the map. Let's close this.
No, so we can execute that function.
You see now it's executing. It's keep executing this function, and at some time it's gonna stop. It tell you that this is an infinite loop.
Okay, I think I got it. So my problem is, so I'm fetching the data on click, but you need to fetch the data when the page is loaded, right? So that's why you put this use effect. Okay, I got it.
Yes. So in your case, you already have an event that you want to fetch the data in. But here, once the page is loaded, I want to load the data. In that case, if I call the function like this function is responsible to change a state. Changing a state, this means the whole component going to be re-evaluated and re-rendered, and they're going to end up in a loop. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's a good time to take our first break now. We'll get back 8. If anybody have a question, feel free to ask. It's fine. I'm here. Okay. So I'll see you at 8. Okay, guys. We're going to continue with our application. Before we start, I find how you can get your API key. So movie API.moviedb. You shouldn't go to the dashboard. You should go to the settings. That's where your API key is. So let's search for it. When you go here, it takes you to the developer. I don't want to go to the developer. The movie API org. So you go here, you don't go to the dashboard, you go to the settings. Once you click in the settings, you select the API, and you should find your API key here. Okay. That's a side note, but here's our application status right now. We're just displaying the names. We want to make cards, and we're going to have a component for every single movie card, which is right here. This movie card, I will create a class here. I'm going to call it movie. You can call it the class anything you want. And since I have a class here and I'm using CSS modules, I receive the movie as a property in this class. So the class name will be simply classes.movie. Okay. And let's play with the CSS here. Let me break my screen. So that movie or this card, I want to give it a background color. And now background color, let's 070707, which is dark gray. I'm going to give it a border radius of 3 pixels. I will give it some shadow, box shadow, 3 pixels, 3 pixels, and the blur 3 pixels, RGPA 0, 0, a shade of black, like 0.7. I want to make the overflow, anything that goes outside this, to be hidden. So overflow hidden. I want to give it a margin so all these cards don't stick to each other from the top and bottom or the sides. The margin, I will give it 1 rem. I'm going to give it a specific width of 300 pixels. And also, I want to make the position relative because I want to move stuff inside this card. So when you make it relative and any other element that's inside it, when you create it absolute, then you can easily move that element that's inside it to its parent, since you make the parent as relative. The cursor, I want to make it a pointer. Let's see what we have right now. Of course, we have to make this movie card here. So I can, just for now, in the home page, instead of for every single movie, I can pass my movie card. Save. And movies, this div, because it don't have anything right now. So let's put an H1 movie so you don't see it. Here we go. So these are the cards so far. I gave it a height 300 pixel. I mean, width 300 pixels. So the width is actually taking effect. So these are the cards. Okay, this is how it should look like. But I don't want to fill them with dummy data like text. I want to fill them with the actual movie data. So in order to do that, you have to pass the movie here as a prop. So to pass the movie as a prop, first you need a key to make it efficient. And the key that I'm going to use, it's going to be just the movie ID, because we have a movie ID. Movie.id. So every single movie have its own ID. Also, every movie that I have here, which is an object, I want to send its properties to the movie card, or I can send the whole movie. So I can do movie, movie like this. Okay, so I'm sending the whole movie to the card component as a prop. So since this card is now receiving a prop, so I can get it here, props, and this props object now have the movie object. So I can pull out or destruct from the props dot movie from the object movie here. I can pull out all the properties that I need to show in my card. For example, I want to pull out the title of the movie. I want to pull out, let's see what else we have first. So let's go to the app here, and not the app, the home. And let's console log. I just want to show you what is the properties that we're dealing with that each movie have results. This is the array of the movies. And if I go to the console here, each movie have a title, have a poster path, which is the image of the poster, and adjust the path to the image. The actual URL of the image, you have to use some base URL. I'm going to show it to you, but I want to get the poster path. I want to get the release date. I want to get the overview, and I get also the vote average along with the ID, because we're using the ID here, right? For each movie have its own ID. If I open another movie, I will have a completely different ID. I will have the language, the title, but I'm interested here in the title, the overview, poster pass, and the vote average. So I'm going to pull all these items here in my movie card. Title, poster, path, overview, this is the data that I'm going to show in my cart. Vote average. And of course, the ID. Okay, so now I have all this information and I can start showing this in my cart. All right, so, and instead of just a movie, I can put the title of the movie. And now you have the titles here. Okay. All right, what else that I need to put here as a markup for a cart? I need to have the image of the movie. So I'm going to put the image of the movie, where the source is going to be equal to the poster pass. But keep in mind, this is just a pass. It's not a URL. To use a URL for this API, it's have a base image URL. And the base image URL is, let me see if they refer that in the documentation or not. So movie, the movie API.org, go to the documentation. Images. You will see that all the images have this base URL, then you add the pass to it. So this is what we get from the API, but you don't get this base URL, okay? So they notify you about this. So you copy that base URL, and of course you can set the width here, width 500 pixels. We're gonna change the width to a different pixels. In that case, I want the width to be 1 to 80, for example. Okay, so this is the URL, and of course I need to give it a name, image URL. So my image here is going to be a template, which is consist of image URL followed by the poster pass. Actually, they are joined like this, poster pass. Okay, and this is going to give you the full URL for that specific image for that movie. And as an alternative, if the image didn't appear, I can put an alt for the title of the movie if the image have some issues or anything. All right, what else? So let's see if that's working. Local 300. And I have the images and they are so big. Good, but at least I received the images of each movie. Now I can target the image that's inside my movie and give it some CSS classes like object fit, cover. I want it to cover my cart, give it a specific height, let's say 450 pixels, and give it some max width of 100%. Let's save that. Here you go. So I got my movie images after I fixed the styling. Nice. And here is the movies. Okay. Now, after the movie image, I'm going to have a div that will be responsible to show the overview and the title. Let's say the title for now. Div. I'm going to give it some bootstrap class names like text center because I wanted the name of the movie to be in the center. I'm going to give it padding of size 2, and the text I want it to be white because the background is dark. I'm going to give it, let's put the an H5 here and put the title of the movie here. Now let's see how that look like. Here we go. So we have the title after the image. Now I'm going to give it like a styling here where I'm going to put border top white, like a white line here between the image and the title of the movie. So I can do that by adding a style here. I'm going to do inline styling, border top, and the border top is 1 pixel, solid white. And refresh the page. Now you have this divider between the image and the title of the movie, which I find it nice. Questions so far about the styling or about the API itself? Did I lose somebody? You guys still understand the process so far?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. After the title, I want an overview that when the user hover over here, I want to have the overview moving up from down all the way to up, or you can control it from left to right, or you can play around with the animation. So after this div, I'm going to have another div. This div will have an H2 with the title overview. And I want to show my, put an H5 here with the title of the movie under the overview. And after that, a paragraph to show the overview of the movie. If you do it this way, you see now the overview is down here. Okay. We want to hide it, and we want it to be sliding up when you hover over this card. So this is CSS tricks. Okay. So let's work on that CSS. So now this overview section, I want to give it a class, and I'm going to define it in my classes module. I'm going to call it overview. And let's now work on the overview class. So this overview since the parent of it, which is the movie, remember we give it a class of relative. Now the child, we can give it a position of absolute, since the position here was relative and this is absolute. So it's absolute to the parent. Okay. So we can set left to be 0. And we set bottom to be 0. Right to be 0. And take a look at it right now. Nothing changed, but these, I mean, it's behind the image so far because we set the bottom to be 0. So it's at the bottom of its parent, the left and right from its parent. So it's actually behind the image. Okay. Since it's behind the image, I want to make it disappear from the image. So I can translate. So I can use the transform and translate it. So take a look at this. So if I do translate, transform, translate, and I can do 50 pixels. Let me put it side by side so you can see it. 50 pixels, and I want to translate it on the Y direction. Okay. because I want to slide it from down to up, so it's in the y-axis. You can show it from the right to left. It's going to be the x-axis, but now I'm controlling the y-axis. So if I translate it 50 pixels, take a look here. This is the normal. Notice when I save, now it's pushed down 50 pixels. Did you see that? So I want to push it down, not only 50 pixels, I want to push it down 100%. So it's going to be underneath the image. And since the image itself or the card is overflow hidden, it's going to be completely disappeared. So if I put 100% and I save, you don't see the overview. And that's because we have the overflow hidden. If I comment this and I save it, you see now, you see it's behind the image. And you can actually do it Z index if you want, 1. See, it's going to be behind the image. But we have the overflow hidden, so it's hidden from the card. But I push its content down. That's what I want to show you. I push it, translate it on the y-axis 100% underneath the image. Okay. I want to give it some other, like background. I want to give it a height of 100%. Should be the height of the card. Some background color, because right now it's very transparent. I'm going to give it some RGBA, let's 0.07. The color of the text should be white. Max height to be the same max height of the image, which is 100%. I'm going to give it some padding so the text don't go to the edges of the card. 1 rem. And the height is 100%. That should be enough. But now, when I want to hover over the movie card, I want to show this overview. So when the movie having a hover state, I want the overview. Now to show it, notice that I hide it with this transform. So I'm going to use this transform to put it back to its normal location. Transform, translate on the y-axis, and you get it back to 0%. Okay, so if I save that, see now it's happening, but it's happening instantly. I want to have some transition, okay, over a period of time. So I can add this transition here in the overview, transition. And I want to transition over a half a second, ease in and out. And now, you see now when it's sliding in, there is a transition. And if you want to make it left to right, all you have to do is just turn it to x-axis. And you will have, this is sliding from the right to left. Very easy tricks you can play around when you know how to work with CSS. You gotta like it from coming from bottom up. But there is another, oh, I need to save this. There is another effect I want to do. I want the image to be like you zoomed in the image when you hover over it. And you can do that effect using the scale, okay? The scale transition, the transform, sorry. So when I hover over the movie, what I want from the image that inside it, I want to transform it, scale it to 1.4, like increase 40%. You zoom in 40%. Okay. And also for this image to not have this scale instantly, I need a transition inside the image here. transition for 0.5 second, ease in and out. And you can specify the name of the transition. I want to use it for the transform property. So you can add transform here. So this transition will take an effect for only for the transform. And also here, I can add transform. Save. Now notice that the image is like, get the feeling that you're zooming in the movie poster itself. Okay. I want also the card itself, when I hover over it, to have like a white box shadows, like you spot light on that card. So I can do box shadow, 0 pixels, because I want it from all 4 corners with 100 pixel spread RGPA. It's going to be a white shade. So the white color 255, 255, 255, and 0.9. And now when you hover over it, you see this white coming up from the card itself is like you're putting a spotlight on it since you have a dark background. And we can also add the transition to the movie here. 0.3 seconds. Ease in and out. Nice. All right. So far, looking good. Any questions so far for the styling? Anything, any property you're not familiar with?
So if we add in transition a transform next to it, does it mean that it's going to be only for transform?
Yes. You can ignore transform, and it's going to be work with all the properties that you are going to change with the hover effect. But you can be more specific. In that case, I'm saying that, hey, the transition, which is 0.5 second, it's only for the transform transition. Okay. So if I have any other transitions here, like I changing the color, it's not going to take that period. Or any other transform is not going to take that period. I'm only doing it for the transform that I have here. And if you have any other transforms, like you can do the scale, and you have to put them in the same line as well. Okay, enough styling. We did good styling for the cards so far. I'm happy with that. And you see that it's working. Now let's go. Let's log in. But now I want the functionality that only the logged in user be able to click here. And if he's not logged in, I want to give him that kind of pop-up and tell him, hey, you need to log in. I need to know if the user is logged in or not. And the only way to know that from the context, because the context here that we share across multiple components, if you remember in the app, we put the current user, which is have the user information inside our context. And this context is wrapping our application. So the whole application have access to the current user and can tap into this information. And all you need to here to do to get the current user is to import the OS context from context, OS context, and also from React, we're going to consume this context. So we need the use context. Once you have the use context, now I can use it, use context. And I'm going to pass the context, which is the auth context here. And that will give me the object that I already put it as a value. And here is this object. Give me access to this object. And this object have a property called current user, which I can destruct here to get access to the current user. Okay. Now I have access to the current user through the context that is shared with all the components. Okay, now I have the current user, and I want to check here after the title. Or you know what? Let's add the onClick here, because the onClick listener, if the user click in the card, I want him to go to the card detail, and I'm going to create a function called show detail. And this function will take the ID of the movie, because again, we have a 20 movie. I need to know which movie that I need to show its ID. I mean, to show its details by using the ID. So I need to create this function, details. And this function, as you can see, it takes an ID. And this function need to check, is the user logged in or not? If he's not logged in, I need to show him this alert saying, hey, please log in to see the movie details. And I can tell if a user logged in or not from the current user. So I can use an if statement here, current user. If I have a current user, then I can navigate him to that movie detail page, which we have to create, of course, this page. So I need a navigation here, or way to navigate the user. And the best way is to use navigate from our React router. So import use navigate from the React router DOM, and I need to create the navigate function, which is equal use navigate. Once you have that, then you simply execute the function, which is navigate the user. And I want to navigate him to details page with that specific ID. Remember, in our app here, we have a route that takes details and then followed by an ID. And that's where exactly I want to send the user to. So it will execute, or it will render the movie details page. So now I'm going to navigate him to /details/ followed by the ID of that specific movie that he clicked on. He clicked in this movie. So the movie that he clicked on, that ID will pass to this function, and that's where I'm going to pass it here. Okay. However, if this user is not logged in, I want to alert him, tell him, please log in to see movie details. Okay, let's test that.
You have a typo.
It's coming. Use navigate. I have typo. Oh, yep, I see it. Use navigate. It's not a typo. I did that intentionally to see if you guys paying attention or not. No, I'm joking. It's a typo. All right. So now if I try to click here, I get this pop-up or alert saying, hey, please log in to see the movie details. Okay, I'll log in. I will log in with Google. I'll use this account. Now, if I try to click on this movie, it will redirect me to details and the ID of that movie. Okay, perfect, it's working. If I click here, you'll see this movie have a different ID. Click here, this movie have a different ID. Perfect. Also, if I logged in, I want the user to be able to see the votes for that movie, or the rating of that movie. Okay, or like the movie is 8, 6, and so on. So I can do that. So here, after the title, I will check if the user is logged in by the current user. If he's logged in, I can use the AND operator. If he's logged in, I'm going to add a span. And this span, I'm going to give it a class name. And this is the vote of the movie classes. Dot. I can give it a class name, vote. And I'm going to put it inside it here. Remember, we have a variable saying vote average, which is going to be the rating of the movie technically. So I'm going to put the vote average. All right. Now, this class vote I have to create, which I will create right now. I want to center the number inside it. So I can use flex, display flex, justify content, center, align items, center. I'm going to give it a fixed width because I want to make it as a circle. So you give it 40 pixels, for example, height 40 pixel, and then you do border radius of 50%, and that will make it a circle for you. Okay. And I want to place this vote. If I save right now, you see here, you see the vote is right here down there. I want to move it to the top right position of the card. And you can do that because the parent is position relative. Now I can position that one here, absolute, and set the top to 10 pixels and set the right side, because I want to do it in the top right, 10 pixels. And you see it here. The only thing, it don't have the background color because I want to do it, add it dynamically, the background color. I'm going to add a border to it, 1 pixel, solid, white. Save that. So now it's have a border. Now the color is going to be based on the number. If this number, for example, higher than 8, like 8.4, I want to show it as a green color. If it's bigger or equal 6.5, I want to show it like an orange. If it's less than 6.5, I want to show it as red. So the user will have a color code. Oh, this is a good movie, this is a bad movie, have a low votes, and so on. And to do this kind of trick, it's not hard actually. Here in this span, I will create a function. I will call it function constant set vote color. And this function will receive the vote. Okay. And now you check if the vote is bigger than or equal, let's say 8, I will return the color green. Okay. Else, if, and you can use switch case if you want, vote bigger than or equal 6.5, if the voting number is 6.5 or greater, I want to return the color golden rod. Else if it's below 6.5, I'm returning red. So this function is simply taking the number of the votes and check if this number is bigger than 8. It returned the color green, where I'm going to using it the styling. If it's bigger than 6.5, it will return like the golden rod color. And if it's lower than 6.5, so the background of that rating will be red. I'm going to go back here to this span. I'm going to style it. And the style take an object where I want the background color, but this value is going to be assigned by calling the function, which is set color vote, and you pass here the vote average. Okay, so we're passing the vote average. This function will return to us either red, golden rod, or gonna return green. If I save that, you will see now that you have here, this is 7.6. So it's okay. This is 8.4. That's a good movie. This is a bad movie, 6.3. It's lower than 6.5. And you can tell right away from the voting, okay? And you only see that if you're logged in. If I log out and I go to the home page, I don't see the voting or the rating of each movie. I need to log in to see that. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
All right. So that's it for this component.
Why do you put vote average inside the function? Inside the, yeah.
So vote average is just a number, right? It's 6, 7.5, 8, anything.
Oh,
and
okay.
this function take that number, check, and it's return a text. This text is either green, golden rod. So while let's say the first movie have a rating of 7. So I'm passing to this function 7. So this function will receive the 7. Check, is 7 bigger than 8? No, so it's not going to be green. Is 7 bigger than 6.5? Yes. So this function returning the golden rod. So this whole function will be replaced with this string, which is golden rod. And now the background will be set as golden rod. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think.
Well, it's just dynamic way to assign styles.
In my recipe app, I needed to change pretty much the same, and like a CSS property, and I put an if statement in a function. And what I did, I didn't pass it back. I just put a DOM manipulation, and that was one of the question. What should I do to return? But you answered that. So
anyway, we'll take a look at it as we said in the class, just to make sure that it's related to that solution. Okay. Cool. And again, there's multiple ways you can do this. You can have different classes, and you check the rating and assign the classes, but I'm doing it with styling, inline styling. All right, but for this component, it's good. All the logic for this component, we don't have to come back here. Okay, what are we missing now? Let's work on the searching functionality, because right now we have a search bar. If I log in now with my Google account, that it's not working, right? So if I log in here, if I try type in something, matrix, search, it's not working. Just going to refresh your page and get you back here. So let's work on this search functionality. And we have a huge problem now. Where is your movies data are? So the movies are in the app. And the search is in the nav bar. right? The app have the movies. So now in the nav bar, when the user type text, you're going to go fetch this movies, but how are you going to pass them to the app?
Using context.
That's exactly what I'm referring to. So now these two components, I should create a context that will hold the movies so they can communicate easily between them. Okay, so the movies shouldn't only be accessible by the app, since I want this navigation bar to make the request for me from the server, receive the data inside the nav bar, receive the data at the array of the movies, and I want to pass it and set my state movies. So I'll put it as a context. Okay, so I'll create a new context here, which I'm going to call it movies context.js. Again, to create a context, very, very simple. You need only React create context. So I can do create context, and it will import it for me. And that function will return to you a context that you can export. And I'm going to call it movie context. Again, this is a component. That's the reason I give it a capital letter here, and the name have a capital. And it's exported not as a default, so you need to destruct it. In my app, I will get this context. Movie context from context. Okay. And I can wrap all the components with the movie context dot provider. Now all the components now have access to the authentication context and also the movie context. But as you know that the provider should have a value. And now I want to give the ability for all of them to access the movies. So the movies actually currently we have it in the home page here, which it shouldn't be in the home page. I'm going to take that back inside the app. Okay. And I will give them access to the movies and give them access to also set the movies, which is a function here. Okay. So now any component have access to the movies and also the set movies. Since we already take it out from the home page, now the home page need access to the movies, which we can do that by using use context. And here, I can simply get the movies, destruct the movies from the context now. Equal use context and pass in the movie context, which is going to be important. And your application should work. Set movies is not defined in my app here. Set line 19. Oh, that's in the home page. And also I want to get the set movies from here as well. So I want to execute set movies as me, it depends. And now should be working. Oh, yep, it's working. You just have a warning message here, which is React hook use effect. This is, you can ignore this. It's just telling you, hey, you have some variables that you never use it. That's fine. This here, React hook use effect has a missing dependency, which is fetch movie. Again, it's a function, you can add it, but it's a function. It's not going to change. So fetch movies, and that's will remove it. And that will generate a different error. Fetch movies. I'll make it simply empty here and just ignore this warnings. These are warnings. Your application should be working. All right, now I have the movies as a context, and I was able to have a context for the movies. Now I need to go to the navigation bar and see what is the user typing. I have a state for it. And when he clicked the search, I need to reach out to the server, get the information about whatever he's searching for, okay? Or all the movies that related to whatever he's searching for. So I'm gonna go to my nav bar. Right here. And now I don't even have the whatever the user searching for. So I will create a state for it. Constant, I'm gonna call it search. Set search, which is use state. Initially, just an empty string. I want to get access to the movies because I want to update the movies. So I can, I already have use context here. I can duplicate that, but for the second context is going to be for the movies context. Movies context. And I want to get from the movies context both the movies and set movies. And of course, I need to import the movies context. Import movies context from go up context movies context. Okay. Movies context wasn't found. Let me go to the movies context. Let's get, okay. Let's get exported. Line 44. Line 10. It's right here. I probably have a typo. Probably said movies, but it's a movie. Okay, now the error gone. Okay, so I just created a state where the user can use it down here in the search. So I will hook the state here. So on change, when the user start typing, I will capture whatever he's typing and set search to e.target.value. Let me put that in a different line and also set the value of this input field to be equal the search. Okay. Change. And when he starts searching, I want to make sure that this is just a button, not a submit button. And when he click here, that's when I want to perform the search itself. So I will create a function that let's call it search handler. Okay. So I need to create the search handler here, which is going to reach out to the I'm going to use Axios to reach out to the server and start searching for that movie that the user is searching for and bring back the data. And I'm going to use the set movies to set my movies to whatever the data I'm going to receive from the server in order to be re-rendered in my home page. So I will start by creating here search handler function, which is async. It's async because we are making requests to a server. So it's an asynchronous operation. Constant response equal await. And I'm going to use Axios as well. So I'm going to import Axios. It get imported here. And I'm going to make a GET request. And now, if you want to search for a movie, if you go back to the documentation, the movie API, let's see how we can search for a movie. Find, no, not find, search. So you can search and you can pass some query. So you need a query here, what you're searching for, pass a text, what you're actually searching for, and you need your API key. So there's two things required here, the query and the API key, okay? That if you want to search for movies here. Search movie, that's what we want, search movie. You can search for TV show, people, other stuff, but we're interested in searching for movies. And in that case, you have two requirements, the API key and the query. All right, so I need to go to my homepage here where I have my base URL. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create search URL. Again, the reason I'm doing it in two steps like this. So let's say later they will change this web page and they're going to make /4. So it's easy for you to change. And instead of /3, make it /4, and that's eventually will change this variable that you're using in your app, which is the search URL. Okay, so it's good practice that you are breaking the variables like this. So I'm going to use that base URL, and then if you remember, it was search movie. This is the endpoint. So search /movie. And we need to pass two queries. First one is the API key, which is equal our environment variable, which is coming from process.env.react. I forget the name of it. Can copy it from here. This is the first query we're sending. Then and equal, or I mean and query equal, and then we have to put whatever the user type in the search input after the query here. Okay. So I'm going to use this search URL, search URL, and after it here, I will pass in whatever the user type in the search bar. Search. That will give me the full URL because whatever he typed in is going to be equal the query, whatever I'm searching for. Let's see what kind of data that I'm going to get back. So let's do console.log response. Okay. And let's go here and let's search for a matrix. Search. I shouldn't see anything. I'm just logging it. Here I get an array of 20 movie. No, this is the one that I'm receiving from the navbar. Okay, so I have data. That's what I should look for. And I have results. So data.results is what I'm looking for, data and results. And now I can set movies by the response.data.results. And after I do that, now the movies, I need, in order for the user to see it, if he's not in the home page, I have to redirect him to the home page. Because keep in mind, the navigation bar is shared by also the login and the register. So he can, or actually, you don't need to redirect him. Let's see the functionality. Let's see if that's going to work. Matrix, search. Here we go. It's working. So I don't need to redirect him because this search bar only will be shown here. Okay. Titanic. Search. There we go. And this is all the movies that have to deal with Titanic. Okay. So the search functionality wasn't that hard because we're using the server URL to make a request for it. So the server actually sending us all the data related to that search. All while we're doing, capturing whatever the user typing in this input field. And we send the request. Once we get the movies back, we set our movies, or we update the movies state, which is already in the context API, with the new movies list that we get from the search, and that will cause the home page to re-render again. Okay. Any question before we go to break about the search functionality? All right. So let's take a 10-minute break. Gonna get back 9:10, and once we get back from the break, we're gonna be working on the detail page where you can easily click in a movie to see its details and the trailer video of the movie itself, and the rating and the overview and some information about the movie. Okay, so we're gonna get back 9:10 exactly. Okay, let's wrap up this application and finish the last page that we have, which is a movie details page. So far, this is our application. And when I click in a movie details, I want to create the page for that movie detail. Our application should look like the following. When you click here, I need to log in. It should look like the following. It's just a card with the movie image, and it's have this video here. I'm going to create a component for this video that will be loaded inside this page. And we can call it any name that you want, technically. Let's call it video section. That will load this video from the YouTube. Okay. So that's the plan. And by the way, during the break, I clean up my code. Anything that I imported that I'm not needing it, I remove it. And it also was complaining about the dependency that I have here, which is the empty array. So I remove it and it's working perfect. And now I don't have any errors or any warnings. In my components here, I'll create a new component. I'm going to call it movie card. or I'm sorry, not the movie card. I already created the movie card. Video section .js RAFCE, and the video section should receive a video ID, because every movie here, to show it in the YouTube, it should have an ID, a specific ID for that movie, or a movie key. You can call it an ID, movie key, whatever you want to call it. But that's what we want in this component here. So in the props, I need to send here video key. And technically, all these components will do is just have a div. And inside this div, I'm going to use iframe to create an embedded video, or embedding from the YouTube to my page. You have to use iframe, where the source is going to be equal HTTPS, where the YouTube www.youtube.com/embedded embed, and then you put your video key that you want to play it from the YouTube. So it's just the YouTube web page /embed and / the key of the video that you want to play. So I'm going to pass the key here, video key here, and you can pass some queries. Like the first query that we want to use is that we want the video to be auto-played. You see, when we load the page, there's two things that you'll find: that the video is automatically playing. The user don't have to click in the play button, and you can pass it here as autoplay query, where you make it equal to 1. 1 means true. Okay, and you can pass another query, which is mute. I want the video to be muted, and you can set it to 1. 1 means true. Okay. For the iframe itself, you can pass some attributes. One of them is allow full screen, so the user can actually make the video full screen. So if he can have that option. Okay, and you should also add a title. If you didn't add a title for this iframe, you will see a warning here down there tell you, hey, you have to add a title to the iframe. I'm just going to call it YouTube video. You can add any title. It's not going to affect what is the user going to see. And this is the component. That's it. It's just going to load the video in our detail page. I'm going to give it some bootstrap classes called ratio to control the aspect ratio of the video. You see this aspect ratio is 16:9, and you can search bootstrap 5 aspect ratio, and you will see with any embedded videos here, they give you an example of this embedded video, and you can tell that this specific video have this ID. You see, this is the video key in that case. Okay, but that's what I'm going to use, ratio and ratio 16:9. So I can copy this class and paste it here. Okay, this is my component, and I'm going to use it in my page detail, or the movie detail in that case. Any question about the video section component? It's gonna just do an iframe, and this iframe will embed the YouTube inside your page. And in order to get that specific video, you need a video key for that video to play in the YouTube. Let me close everything here, except of course the movie details. This is the page we want to create. and we need to reach out to the server. Again, first, to get this movie keys about the movies, or this videos or trailer videos about the movie. So let's see, check our API again. And see what we can use here. Movies. Get videos, that's what we're looking for, the videos for the movie. And you can see it's /movie. You need the movie ID, and then you pass the video. And you need here only the API key. And this is the response that you will receive. You will receive some results, which is an array. Okay, so technically we want only one video. So we're going to select the first item in the array, which is the first video. And we need the key. Okay, so we're going to, whatever the response, we're going to access the results array. We're going to access the first one, which is the object here, the first one in our array. And once we access this object for that video, we want to get its key, right? So I'll go here. I will create a state for my video key. It's a constant video key set video key equal use state, which is initially have nothing. I need to import the use state from React. Save. So I need a state for the video key. I need also to reach out to the server to get the details about the movie. So you can get a movie details. So get details here /movie. Then you need the ID of the movie that you're looking for to get its details. But the question now, I'm in the movie details page. How can I get the movie ID? Because I need the movie ID for the video key and the movie details. Take a look here. Take a look in our app. How can I reach out to this ID that's inside the URL? You remember anything from the React Router library that we can use to give us access to this parameter? Remember, this is a parameter that we have it in the app, which is this variable ID. How we have access to this? Through the use param hook. So I can use param, copy that, use params, will return to me all the parameters as an object, and I can destruct the ID. And it's called ID here because I call it here as an ID. So if I change it to movie ID, then what I'm going to receive is movie ID. So it is following the name of the variable that you give in your route. So I just ID. I'm going to make it simple ID and put this back to ID. Okay, so I will get the ID from the URL. Also, I'm going to make another state for the details, the movie details. I'm going to call it movie details. Set movie details, which is equal use state Okay, now I have my 2 states and I have access to the movie ID, and I can reach out and get the details and the video that's related to this movies. I need some URLs that I'm going to reach out to the server. One of them, definitely I'm going to need the base URL. And you can, if you want, this base URL, put it in a variable, in end variable, so it can be shared across multiple components, but I'm just going to copy it. This is my base. I'm going to have another URL for the movie details URL. And if you remember the movie details from the API here, it is the ID, get details / movie followed by the ID. So it is the base URL / movie followed by the ID. Okay. Then you have to pass your API key again. Just going to copy it from here. This is the query. Okay. And now I need this URLs to be after I create my ID constant here, because I'm using this ID here. Okay, so this is the URL for the movie details. The movie or the video URL constant video URL. It is also the base URL / if you remember from the documentation, videos here, get videos / movie, the ID after that / videos. So it's pretty much the same thing. ID. I'm going to copy this whole thing. Just add videos after the ID. This is my endpoint. And then, of course, I have to pass my API key. And since our detail will have an image, so we have an image here, so we need the base URL for the images, which we used it in the home page here. Which is this one. No, not this one. In the movie card, we use it in the movie card. Here we go. So this is the image URL. I'm going to need also the URL for the image. Okay, so all my URLs are ready to make the request from the server for this page. So I need to make the request when the page first loaded. So I need to use effect and make sure it's get imported. Use effect, get imported, good. And now I will use Axios to reach out to my server. And I need to import Axios. I'm going to make a request to the server using a GET request for the movie details, get the movie details. And I'm just going to use then. Once I get a response, and let's see how this response looks like. It's fine. This is my response here. I get an object, and this object should have data. Example. This is the data that's going to be inside my response. And if you have an error, you will get this error message. So I will receive this response. So I want to set my movie details to the response dot data. Okay. And this data is the object that you see in the documentation. And also I'm going to want to make a request to get the videos key. So I'm going to use the video URL. Then I'm going to get a response. And let's see what is the response for the video. Get videos. And the response is an object. This object have results. So I want to access the results, which is an array. So I want to only get the first video. I'm not interested in all the videos that related to that movie. I'm only interested in the first video or any of the videos. So I will select the very first element in this array. So set video key to be response dot data dot results. And I want to access only the first one because you're going to have multiple videos. Sorry, 0. And you have the key of the video, and that's what I want. So I will access that key. Okay. Now, making this call with use effect. Do I have any dependency here? Any variables that I'm depending on? I'm depending on the ID. I'm depending on the movie details URL. So this movie URL, if it changed, this use effect should get re-executed, right? So the movie details is a dependency. Also, the video URL is a dependency. And both of the movie details and the video URL are based on the ID. So I can put the ID as well. When the movie ID get changed, I want to re-execute and fetch all this information related to that movie ID. Okay. So now I have all the data. All I need now to do is just presenting this data. How I'm going to present it in my movie details card. I'm going to have a div. I'm going to give this div a class name. Let's give it py5. So it's going to give padding on the y direction was 5. And if you remember, we have this custom class called page. We give it to every single page to push it down away from the navigation bar. And also, I'm going to add styling for this page to give it a background color. Background color of the dark gray. 3 5s. Okay. I want to push my card in the middle. So I got to use a container, bootstrap class, div, class name, container. And now I'm going to use a card, bootstrap card. So I'm going to have a div, class name, card. I want to give it a margin bottom of 3, size 3, background dark, and text to be white or light. And I want to give it a shadow large. These are bootstrap classes. And if you see here, I'm using the grid system. So I want to create a row and then have some columns here and some columns here. So they're divided in 2 sides. So I can use the bootstrap grid system. But in order to use the bootstrap grid system, I have to create a div that have a class name of row. and also have the first column, div, class name, column, in the medium screen and up to have a 4 out of the 12 columns. Okay. So 4 out of 12, so I'm going to be left up with 8 columns. So in the first one here, or in the first column, I want to show the image, the release date, the rate, and the vote and the spine. So I'm going to be working on this side of the cart, which is in the column medium 4 here. The first thing I want to show is the image. And for the image, I'm going to add the source for the image. And the source for it is going to be the image URL. Plus my movie details. This movie details, if you take a look here, if you go to the movie details, get details, and the data that you will receive is the poster pass. What is the poster pass? Okay, so this is the image or the poster. So I'm going to add, if I have the movie details, if I have this data, I want to show the poster underscore pass. I'm going to give it a couple classes, bootstrap classes, class name, image fluid to make it responsive. And I want to do rounded from the start to round the corners. And if I save that, I go to my application and here, let me refresh. The image is broken. Let me see why it's broken, what I did wrong here. It's the image URL. Plus movie details plus poster pass. Poster pass. Let me console log here. The response data. Inspect. You go to home page, click on this. So this is the response that I receive. This is coming from the home, not from this component. Cannot read the property of undefining. Let me clear this console log. Let me inspect here to see what is this image. It is undefined. See, this is the problem. So that means this request that I'm sending here is undefined. Oh, I see what is the problem. Oh, this is correct. Base URL. Because I have 2 slashes here. Nice. Nope, it's not. Okay. Movie Oh, see, it's called movie details URL. Movie details is the state. So I need to put the URL here. That was the problem here. And I have the image. Perfect. Okay. Tiny stuff, guys. But you have to be able to debug your codes. So I got the image. After the image, I need to create this list. And this is a UL with a list items. And I'm going to use a Bootstrap list group class. So after the image, I'm going to have a UL. And this UL, I'm going to give it a class name of list group flush. I'm going to have an LI. And this LI, or the first LI, I should have a bold tag because I want to add the text release date bolded. So I'm going to put it in a P tag, release date. And after this, I'm going to have a span. To get the release date from the movie details. Movie details. If I have a movie details object, I want to select the release date. Release date. Okay. I need to give this LI a couple of classes, Bootstrap classes, class name. And again, can go to Bootstrap here, components, and we're looking for list group. As you can see, the UL should have a list group, and each LI should have list group item. And you have so many other classes that you can add if you want to add some buttons, flushing it, that you make this. That's what I'm using, that you don't have the borders for them. So I'm adding the group flush, list group flush. Okay. So you always should reference the Bootstrap if you're using Bootstrap. And by practice, you will know them by heart. I promise you. So this is an item. And as you can see here, I want to display it as a flex where the spaces between them. And you can easily do that by deflex and justify content between. I'm going to copy this LI multiple times. After the release date, we wanted the rate, which is simply, if you remember the name, average votes, or vote average. Vote average. And you can double check from the documentation here. If you go to the details, vote average. Okay. And the next one we're going to use is the vote count. So this is the vote average, which is the rate. And the final one is the total vote. Which is from the vote count. Save that. Let's take a look now. Here we go. Nice. And we have our release date. That's the release of the movie. The rate is 7. And this is the average of total of 1680 voters. Okay, now I want to add a button here similar to that, which is going to take me back to the home page. And you can do that. Very simple. I'm going to add another li. And I don't want to show it as a flex. I don't want to put the space between it, just a button where text center, I want to center the button. And technically, I want to add a link that I want to style it as a button. So I'm going to add the link from the React Router DOM. And I'm going to tell you why I want to use a link. So I want to use the link because, as I told you before, the React Router DOM uses the history API. And the history API, it's like a stack. So now we was in the home page at some place in the home page, and then we push on top of the history stack that now we are in the detail page. To go back, you just remove one from that stack, and you can do that by going to -1. Okay, and I want to style it as I'm going to show you right now what is the advantage of that. You can see, you might be arguing is like, why I can't just to homepage and problem solved? Why you have to use -1? And I'm going to show you that in a little bit. BTN primary. Now let's go to the homepage and let's scroll all the way down. I'm in the last row right now, and I'm going to go to this movie, which is the C piece. Notice what's going to happen when you click go back. See, it scroll you back to where you are. And that's one advantage of using the -1. It will scroll you exactly where you was. It's not going to reload from the beginning or going to put you on the top here. Let's see in our app. Click this one, go back. See, it's scrolling you back where you are, where you actually clicked in this page. And that's a huge advantage that you can use. Okay. And just to show you the difference, if I put it to the home page, it's just going to navigate you to the home page. If I refresh this app, you see, it didn't scroll me back down where I was. All right. So I'm taking out from the stack my current detail page to send me back where I was. If I was in the bottom of the screen, it will scroll me back to the bottom of the screen. And that's all for this column. All whatever we did was for that column. Go ahead. Okay.
Can I ask something?
Sure, definitely.
On line 29, what does rounded start do?
Rounded start
Yeah.
is make this rounded start here for the image.
That's it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I couldn't notice it. That's why I had to ask.
No, sure. Definitely, you can ask anything.
Okay,
and let me show you. You're welcome. Let me show you what if I didn't add the rounded start. Where it's for the image, definitely. So let's say I remove this one. Okay.
Okay.
And refresh here to take an effect. It's not. Let me add it back. It's not actually making any huge difference here.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask. I got confused.
Sure. And if you have something like this, just type in rounded start. You're welcome. And Control F, rounded star. Here we go. It's a utility. You have rounded star, rounded end, rounded left, rounded right, just to create rounded across that case. But in our case, it's not making that effect. You can remove it, and it's
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I will start now on the other side of our application, which is here. I want to show the video, and that's the reason I get the video key for it. And I want to show down here the name of the movie and the overview of the movie. So I will create another column here, div. And I'm going to give it a class name, column, medium, 8, because the total 4 and 8 should be 12. And right here, I'm going to create it as dflex. And the movie, then the overview, they are on top of each other. So it's flex column. Okay, so it's not a row, it's column. And I want to show a card body here. Last name, card body. It's just going to give some padding, the card body. It's not going to do that much. Card body just going to give padding on margins. Then I want to add an H3, which is the name of the movie. Oh, just give me 1 second, because my keyboard charge has just stopped. Just need to get the cable, and I have to disconnect the camera for 1 second. Here you go. Fun. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right. Sorry for that, because I don't have that much USB ports. So I have to take out the camera from the computer in order to put the charger for the keyboard. But anyway, we're going to continue here. We stopped. We created the card body. I'm going to add some H3 for my title of the movie, which I'm going to get it from the movie details dot title, and give it some classes, bootstrap classes, class name, and I will center it using text center. Let's take a look. And here we go. We get the name of the movie. Perfect. After the name of the movie, I want to show the video here. Remember, we have a component for that. And this component is called video section. But I want to only show it if I have a video key for that movie. So I can check, do I have a video key? Did I fetch a video key? And if I have a value for the video key, then I can get the video section. And I need to import a component, import video section from, go up 1 level inside my components, and I have my video section. Well, if you remember, this video section component that we created, it takes the video key as a prop. So I need to pass to it video key as a prop. And now let's see if that's going to work. Save. And apparently I have an error down there. Video section is defined but never used. Okay. Video detail, video section is not defined. Let me copy it from here. Oh, I probably have a typo. Yeah, I missed the O here. See? Video section. So now you see it's going to play the movie video. And I set it for muted. Remember that. So it's not going to be any voice. If you want to change that, you can remove this query. And now when the movie starts, it's going to be unmuted. Okay, I'm going to mute it. I'm going to put it back, this query, muted as one. Okay, so this is for the video section. After the video section, I'm going to have an H5 simply saying overview. So I'm going to put it in the center. Text, or this I'm going to make it the card title. To style it as the card title. And margin top 4, size 4, to push it down a little bit. I'm going to type in overview. And right here, I'm going to add the paragraph. Which have a class name, card text. And I'm going to add the movie details dot overview. Save that. Here we go. I have the overview, but it's not centered. You know what? I'm not going to center it. It's look nice to me like this. And I think this is what I used here. This is identical to what I used here. Okay. So let's go back, check another movie. And it's going to play the movie video. Let's search for a movie. Let's search for The Matrix or any other movie. I don't know, a lot of movies. Why it's not Matrix? And we have an issue here. Console. Okay. Let's refresh. Matrix. Search. Okay. A. Search for anything. Nope. Okay. Let's see what's wrong. So we make, let's console log whatever we typed here, which is the search. Matrix. Let's first refresh. Inspect. Go to the console. Let's type something. Matrix. Now it's showing the text. So good. After I get the text, we making this request. So let's add a try and catch to see that if there is any error with the request. And catch the error and simply console log it. The error. Let's type in anything. Okay, so this is the image / null. This is the wrong URL. Search URL. It's the base search API key. Okay, let's console log whatever we're using here. So this is correct URL, and we didn't get any error. Oh, it's happened for a second. So it's actually getting the data, updating the data here. I see what is the problem. The reason, because I took out this, and it's going to be all it should be there. Here we go. Because this fetch, if I took this dependency, it will be executed every time this URL get changed. So it have to be, even if it's complaining about the warning here, it's not a big deal. It should be there. Okay, so now the matrix, and you can go to the matrix. You will see the video about the matrix. You can do full screen as well, full screen. Good. You can go back, which is going to take you to the home page. That's fine. You can go here. Go back. And you can log out and log in and sign up. Okay, it was a big application, but there is a lot, as I said, a lot of technologies, and it will help you a lot in your interviews. And I highly encourage that you practice this project. Try to redo it on your own and make a note of all the technologies we use in this application, and you need to put it in your resume. So list down that you use the React router, list down that you're familiar with the environment variables with React, list down in your resume that definitely put a link to your GitHub account and to the application if you're going to host it online. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, let me put back the camera. I think okay, yeah, my keyboard is charged already. Any questions about anything about this application in general, about React, something that you don't understand it well, like the context, React router? All right. Eugene left. Okay. Anybody have a code that you want me to debug with you? All right. If not, I will post the codes in the GitHub. I will call the folder final. So it's the movie app final. So you don't get confused about the one that I pushed yesterday and today. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to me through Slack. But again, you need to practice this project. It's think about it like it's covered everything that you've been learned about in this course so far. And I'm going to see you next week. Monday with a new topic about React, a little bit more advanced and for optimization. Yeah, we're gonna learn more about use callbacks, use ref, and use memo. All right, have a good night, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have a good
You're
night.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.